Hey everybody, Cooper here from etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Swagman XC2, our 2021 Dodge Durango. Our bike rack is going to be a platform style bike rack, only weighted for 35 pounds each per bike. We are going to be making that frame contact, so between the weight rating and our frame contact, that means that our e-bikes as well as our carbon frame bikes are not unfortunately going to be an option for this bike rack. Now unfortunately, our bike rack does not offer a tilt-away function, so if we want to access our hatch, we're going to need to unload our bike. But before we do that, I do want to point out how on our normal mountain bike here, we are sitting very close to our back glass here. So making sure that we know the size of our handlebars, or just having something to cover it up like a tennis ball or a pool noodle, is something very important, I'd say, with this bike rack. Now the only point of contact on our rack is going to be these hooks here. And because of that, we want to make sure that we have good contact with our bike when we remove the hook. But before we do that, we do just want to point out real quick that there is a hole pre-installed here. So if you wanted to add on a lock core or any sort of locking device that you have, just give you another security feature and peace of mind on your bike rack, that is an option. One nice thing about the rack is that our hook does fully remove. So after we take it off, we can just put it back down in this other configuration, allowing us to lift our bike up and over that mast with no problem, since that hook is out of our way. And now with our bike down, we're ready to go. Since our rack doesn't tilt away or fold up, if we want to get access to our hatch, we are going to have to take down our main center mass. So just putting the hook back in that original position that we had it in. Before we take it down, we can see that there is a pin all the way down here at the bottom. Simply removing that allows us to fold this down and out of the way and put that pin back in a new hole to make sure that it is kept in that locked position. But with that down out of the way, we now have full access to our hatch to get our bike, helmet, our shoes, maybe get lunch from here after we're done with our ride, anything that we'd need from the back of our hatch. With looking at our hatch out of the way, we're going to take some measurements. As with putting anything into our hitch receiver, we're going to be adding on length to our vehicle. So after our hatch closes, we're going to go ahead and take our tape measure, put that front part to the bumper, and measure out that furthest point, which is going to be one of our cradles here. Looking at that, we're only adding on about 22 inches to the back of our vehicle, which all things considered is not that much for a bike in that down folded position, but it's still a measurement that you obviously want to be aware of, whether you're trying to fit into your garage, is there enough room for your vehicle, plus 22 inches, trying to park into a tight spot, or like changing lanes on the highway, there is that additional room you're going to have to be aware of. Another measurement we like to take is making sure that we have good ground clearance. So putting it on the bottom of our rack down to the ground, we can see that there's about 15 inches there. Because of this nice shank rise we get, I'm not really concerned about going up any hills or parking in steep driveways for this to make contact and on the ground. Now we do have the ability to store this rack in a more folded up position, bringing everything in kind of more towards the top. But before we do that, we do want to show you some of our wheel cradles here. A little bit on the thinner side, only allowing for a max tire width of 2.5 inches. One thing that is really nice though is that if we loosen our knobs, we can actually move our cradles up and down our bike rack, allowing for a maximum wheel base of 52 inches. Now while it is totally fine to drive around with your rack in this position, if you want to kind of put it into that more vertical position, it does save a lot of room if you're storing it in the shed or something. So we're going to show you how to put it into that. Our first step is going to be to undo that center pin that we did earlier, putting our center mast in that upright position again, feeding that back through. And then undoing the clips on either side of our wheelbase, allowing us to fold them up into position, and then again finding their new pinhole to make sure that they are secured in those positions. So, like I said, overall, this configuration, while maybe not saving any additional space, does help with that width of it and for like storage situations. With all of this folded in, this is a perfect time to come in and look at our hitch here. You'll see that we do have a 1.25 inch shank leading into a 2-inch sleeve. So that means that this bike rack is going to be able to accommodate either 1.25 inch, or in our case right now, 2-inch receiver tubes, meaning that if you have different family vehicles, maybe one has 1.25 inch and one has 2, our bike rack is pretty much dual purpose in that way. We have an anti-rattle bolt threaded through and held in place by this clip, And that anti-rattle bolt is really just going to help take out a lot of that side-to-side action while driving. There still might be a little bit of up and down play with it, but once you have your bike split on, that's going to help kind of keep that weight down on it. Overall, I do think that our rack is a really good option, especially for an entry-level rack. I do really like the fact that the hooks come off because of how close our handlebars were sitting to it. The ability to take your bike up and over instead of having to worry about its positioning to the hook where the handlebars are sitting and trying to push it through makes it really nice. If you're not using it, the fact that it folds up into this really compact position is really nice. You know, you just need to dedicate a corner in your garage or the shed to this, since it doesn't take up very much space. And that was a look at our Swagman XC2 on our 2021 Dodge Durango. Thanks for watching.